What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dual Hemisphere Hangout. I am one of your hosts, joined with you every single week. My name is Luke, and with me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Jake. Jake, go ahead and say hi to the people, man.
Hello again. Hello, everyone. You're getting bored of
What's
our faces, I'm pretty sure, right?
Nah, they love our faces. Every single day, man. Every single week, they're like, what shirt are we gonna wear today? I was thinking about it the other day. I was looking back at some videos the other day, and I was laughing at the way my hair has changed since it started. How it used to start up here, and now it's just slowly getting longer to the point where now it's like you got the little Bieber going on. Because like I usually like puff it up like this, but it just naturally starts just falling down halfway through the day. So now I just given up. I'm gonna get a haircut.
To grow my length
maybe.
out. I've tried to grow my length out a little bit, and I'll probably get really annoyed. I get to a point where it's a bit awkward, and then I'll chop it all off again. So it never really gets longer than this.
I mean, I had really long hair at one point, so it's just like one of those things where I'm like, do I want to grow it back? I don't know. We'll see. It's all just depends on how lazy I am and how much I just don't want to pay the barber to cut my hair.
I mean, over the Christmas, I rocked the tash. I rocked the handlebars.
Hey, let's go.
I was one Harley Davidson away from being a true American Luke.
There you go, man. You could have came around and over. You would have blended right away. I would have shaved all this off just so I could be just like you, and it's left the mustache, so it could be mustache bros. But Jake, how's your week been, man?
It's been good. It's been good. I think I've got over the jet lag. I've got a brand new sleep schedule as a result of it. It's literally as a result of not being able to sleep properly. So now I can't get past like 10 p.m.
Fair.
Usually people that know me, I'm up until 5 a.m. Like most Saturdays.
Night owl. Yes.
Now I'm in bed for 10 p.m. and then up by I'm waking up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
There you go.
It's wild. But apparently that happens when you turn 30.
Yeah, bro. I can't sleep past literally I cannot sleep in past 8 o'clock. Like I can stay in bed, don't get me wrong, but I'm fully awake. Like it's not like hitting 30 and just constantly I wake up before my alarm every single day. Like I don't even know why I set it up at this point, but the saying you forget
safety net.
Day,
I'm never doing it.
I'll never do it. But I mean, I wake every Saturday, every Sunday, without a doubt. I am up my eyes are awake at 7, and I am like, all right, well, I'm awake. Let me sleep for another hour. I maybe can get to 8 and actually go back to sleep. But after that, it's I'm awake. I am just laying in bed scrolling on TikTok or whatever the fuck, which also might also be getting banned. But
tomorrow,
Sunday for us. So we have one more day, and then potentially tomorrow. But it looks like it's not going to happen. The Supreme Court said that they're not gonna fix the law to ban TikTok. But the Biden administration is basically saying they're not going to enforce it. They're going to leave it up to Trump, and then Trump pretty much is like, we're going to figure a solution out. He even invited the CEO of TikTok to his inauguration. So if I had to put money on it, I would say TikTok will definitely be here to stay. I'm pretty sure they're just going to end up selling to someone. I don't know who. I hope it's not to Zuckerberg or whoever owns Facebook. Just because
a lot of people have that's their business, right?
Well, yeah, it's really stupid.
Just,
I mean,
cut it off.
It's a stupid. Yeah, it's very stupid. It's just I don't want to get too political with a lot of things, but it's a very dumb decision. I think it's just a bunch of old men who don't understand social media and really think it's just dancing and cat videos, when in fact a lot of small American businesses use this to survive, and by eliminating, you're literally.
And I don't think they realize that it's on Instagram and X as well.
Yeah, they don't understand.
It's the same thing. It's just reels and whatever. Yeah, I don't think X has a name for it. You just click on it and you just end up scrolling.
It's just a video. I don't know. It's crazy times over here. We shall see. We'll come back next week and I'll let you know if I still can scroll on TikTok or not. But that is not why we are. This is not what this episode is about. We're not talking about TikTok or the ban. If it gets banned, maybe we will, and then I'll go on a full 2-hour rant about why banning TikTok was dumb. I'm very opinionated, but on it, coming from making TikToks. And a lot of my friends still doing that and their livelihood being at stake. But we are actually here today to discuss the Nintendo Switch 2 was finally announced officially. I feel like we've been treading the water on, we know it's a thing. We know it's coming out at some point.
I feel their hand was forced. I don't think they wanted to do it now.
No.
I feel they had to do it, and well, I feel like they knew that they had to do it a long time ago. But they tried doing the usual internet disaster plan of just wait till everyone forgets. Unfortunately, that usually takes about a week to 2 weeks on the internet. I'm not going to lie, maybe a couple of hours. Unfortunately, when you're Nintendo, it just does not go. Like, does not go, because they've tried to keep everything behind closed doors now. This first it was like the Switch 2, and then that got leaked way long ago. Then it was Pokemon, and they leaked everything.
Literally.
And then they leaked the Switch again. It's like, the Switch 2 has been leaked 2 times.
But it's official. It's a thing now. It's officially
an
actual thing that we are getting at some point. And this year, I think the trailer announced it was coming out on the official announcement was we're going to get direct on the 2nd of February 2025, and then it will be coming out later that month. Like it's coming, they're going to do a whole tech demo and tell us more about the specs officially. But they gave us a little preview. If you guys are paying attention on YouTube on the video format, you can actually visibly see it right now. The trailer is pretty cool. It's much bigger. The screen looks much bigger. The Joy-Cons seem much more, I would say, sturdy, and that's really all they gave us, with a little bit of, they gave us what looked like to be potentially Mario Kart 9, which is super exciting. And Jake's gonna click the video right now,
but like it might get copyright claimed, it might not. We'll
see.
I'm not playing music, but they'll probably still get me. So, for our audio listeners, this is just the normal Switch 1. Everyone's big friend. So it looks like it's about 10% bigger on the main console dock. What annoys me is that they kept the bezels. Whether that will be a final render, I'm unsure. It seems to me it's just a very big cash grab. I get it. There's going to be probably an OLED model of the Switch 2, which will have thinner bezels, and that's the only thing they can kind of do with the design, because it's kind of locked in at this point. It is the best handheld console ever to be made.
Yeah, 100%.
Hands down. So, like, I knew they wouldn't stray away too far from the design. These little, magnetic... I
like them. I always felt like I was going to break my thing setting that thing back into the Switch dock, so I do like the way that they look. They look sturdier. I will say that, which is those Joy-Cons, man.
We will break it down like frame by frame or whatever. But the sticks drifting was 100% intentional. Like 100% intentional.
It had to be. But yeah, and
I think it's a very sleek console. It's a very sleek console.
Too. Yeah. Well, here we are. It's been announced. It's called the Nintendo Switch 2. They are showing a little gameplay. I will say overall the screen looks a lot bigger. I think we'll talk about some specs that we are assuming are going to be a thing. And yeah, Mario Kart 9 looks like it's all but confirmed. Here without like an official like, hey, this is Mario Kart 9. But it looks like we're getting a new Mario Kart, and probably something that we all already expected, because most modern gaming consoles allow this, is the Switch games will be able to be played on the Nintendo Switch 2, but Nintendo Switch 2 games will not be able to be played on the Nintendo Switch. And
they're going to end up doing do you remember the 3DS?
Yeah,
where they put the little notch on it so it wouldn't fit in the DS.
Yep.
I reckon they'll probably do a similar
for sure
shindig.
It's here. It's here. I think it's everything that I personally would want out of a Nintendo Switch 2. Like, I don't think you need to invent the wheel with it. We'll talk about the Switch legacy in a bit, but it's by far the best handheld console ever made. Nintendo knows what they're doing. No need to change the name of it. Still call it a Switch. You don't need to call it a Nintendo Super Switch U or whatever, or You Bet or something. But like,
we got you. We got you.
We got you. Switch it up. But yeah, it's cool, man.
I do like this this release mechanism. Yeah. It's much better than the button that that we've previously had. I've seen people complaining, saying that this little like connector is going to snap off. You don't know Nintendo. You don't. You guys. You're doubting Nintendo's ability to actually produce a product that's indestructible. Everyone said that the Joy-Cons were going to snap off the Switch 1, and I have seen young kids give the Switch some hammer, absolute hammer.
Take it up by one Joy-Con like this and swing it around, and that thing is still it's still intact.
Whether it be as strong, I don't know. But
probably
it's going. Another thing I'll point out is everyone's got like USB-C devices now, right? It's the same concept. You'd expect that little bit in the middle to snap off, but it never does. No. It's always there. What were you going to say, Luke?
Yeah, I was going to say, honestly, it's just one of those things where I think the Switch 2 is just exactly what we wanted it to be. And I think overall, people who are skeptical of it are people who are like, oh man, I want it more. It's like, you don't need it. You don't need to do anything crazy with this thing for it to be like. I'm thoroughly happy with with what it looks like. I'm excited to see the official specs when they are released. We have some speculative specs that we'll talk about, and the games. I'm very curious about what games are coming to Switch 2 and whether they're all coming to Switch 2 specifically, or we'll still be able to play some of the games that are announced for the Switch 2 on the Switch. Like kind of like a lot of the PS5 games aren't really PS5 exclusives. You can still play them with the PS4. They just don't look as nice. But yeah,
that really pisses me off with the PS5 stuff. Like,
yeah, it's annoying.
We don't. To me, we don't have a PS5 like library yet. The console's been out like 3 years, 4 years. There is not a PS5 library.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things. Like when people talk about like this newer generation of consoles, I literally think it's just like besides like one or two, maybe 3 or 4 games specifically that are specifically made for the PS5 or the higher generation consoles that I needed to get. Like, okay, like I honestly, the only reason why I bought a PS5 was to play College Football 25 because it was not coming to the latest systems of consoles. So I was like, all right, I just have to get one. I'm not missing out on this. And so I'm very curious. I think Nintendo does not care at all. Nintendo will say, if you want Breath of the Wild 3, you are going to buy a Switch 2. And that's okay, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to buy a fucking Switch 2.
Yep.
You know, it's just, hey, you want to play Pokemon Generation 10? You're going to buy a Switch 2. You know, like it's one of those things where Nintendo knows what they're doing and they do it so well, specifically with their consoles. Subtract the Wii U from existence, they really did not miss in consoles. And I mean, I'm not talking back like beyond, like I'm not super old. I think the 64 is what I had. I didn't have a Super Nintendo, but you know, we had the 64, the GameCube, the Wii, which was at the time the most innovative, and I think to this day, next to the PS2, the highest selling console ever. And then you had the Wii U, which we don't talk about, and then the Switch, and then the Switch 2. Nintendo does not miss when it comes to consoles. Nintendo knows what they're doing, and they're one of the very few first-party system developers and game developers that stick to their guns, and they know what works, and they can get away with it because you're still going to buy your Marios, you're still going to buy your Zeldas, you're still going to buy your Pokemons, and you're going to get the system that it's going to be on so you can play those games. You know, it's not like, oh, we're toting our boat on Call of Duty 3, or Call of Duty 3, but like the newest Call of Duty you can play on. You know, like you can go get that anywhere, right? But if you want to play Nintendo games, you have to get their newest console. And I mean, call me a consumer, but I'm going to get this console. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it day one when it drops, but it definitely is going to be a thing where when that one game comes out that I want, I'm going to buy it, and I'm not going to think twice about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like 100%. Like it would. I will probably try and get it on the first intake. I know, given Switch's history, like the Switch One, there was a pretty like quick upgrade to it with the battery. Yeah. That being said, I don't play mine handheld a lot, so if that was to happen again, I wouldn't be too bothered about it. I just don't want to be in the position where it was the same with the PS5s. Like I was just so lucky I got my pre-order in. I don't want to be in a position where you don't see stock for months. Like usually I wouldn't be asked of buying them first. I bought my Switch like 2 years after they came out. Yeah. I just don't want to be in that position anymore where you're trying to find the console that you want to buy and there's just none anywhere. Yeah.
I think that's a thing of the past. I think specifically speaking just of the PS5, the reason why it was so hard to get was because of COVID. I think COVID, because there was this little chip that they needed to get to make the PS5 run. COVID really created a shortage of it, and no one could get them out there. And it took them about 2 years to catch up. But you can walk into Target right now and buy a PS5 Pro, PS5 whatever, no problems. I mean, I was working at a Best Buy during Black Friday, and I swear 1 out of 5 people were walking out with a PS5, and I probably saw 500 people that day. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think the biggest thing that you're going to face getting it day one would be, like you said, maybe the first batch, maybe the battery not being as powerful, and you got to wait a year for them to give maybe a little bit more of an upgrade to the battery. But talking about the Switch 2, unfortunately, Mr. Nintendo, Big Bag Nintendo, was not happy that the specs leaked. We're pretty sure we know what we're looking at. When it comes to the specs, I am looking at this, and to me, it looks like a foreign language. It looks like I'm reading hieroglyphics. So I'm going to pass it on to you, Jake. When you look at, the quote-unquote speculative specs for the Nintendo Switch 2, how strong is this? And is it, I would say the only thing I can think of maybe comparing it to would be the Steam Deck.
If these specs are true, Nintendo have got an absolute monster on their hand. Okay. So the way the Steam Deck works is on an I think it's let me get this right. It's an APU. And the difference between an APU and a CPU is that the APU is in one, in a way. Okay. So it's a GPU and a CPU in one. And a lot of the mobile companies have kind of gone down this route of confining space by putting it all in one chip. It's a bit more power energy efficient. It saves a lot of space on the motherboard, and it also means that you can do direct cooling in one place. Direct all the cooling to that place, and then you'll get quote-unquote superior performance, but optimal performance. So with the Steam Deck, I think this is the OLED one. I just pulled up the tech specs. I've got the old one. So in the CPU performance, it's a 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz 4-core CPU within the APU, and a GPU of 1.6 gigahertz of, I don't know what RDNA is. I'm sure that's the random access RAM, which is equivalent to 1.6 teraflops. Of data. So it's a really good GPU for a handheld. From what you've sent me, this fucking machine is going to be insane. So to start off, the CPU will have double the amount of cores. Doesn't always equate to double the amount of performance, but you can at least assume it will be 1.5 times to 2 times. We don't know the cache sizes, so the cache sizes are the amount of memory a CPU can intake. Imagine a blender, and you're ramming it in. The bigger the cache, the more blending you can do. The GPU, on the other hand, it's They've gone NVIDIA. Usually with these micro devices, they go AMD. It's a bit cheaper. AMD have actually pushed performance like way past NVIDIA, so Nintendo must have some sort of agreement with NVIDIA. Looking at its graphics processor, it's probably what's in my PC right now, and I have like a 2060.
Wow. Okay.
12 gigs of RAM is more than enough. Anyone that says otherwise is just, you're not rendering on the Switch. You're only ever playing games. So, like, 12 gigs of RAM is completely, like, overkill in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, you could probably get away with 8. It's a small handheld. What's good to see on these speculations, though, it's 2 chips. So, for people that don't know how random access memory, like, kind of works, the easiest explanation is, like, you'll see some PCs have 2 sticks. So you have, like, 4 and 4 will give you 8. Or 8 and 8 will give you 16. I can't remember the exact reason behind it, but if you have... So in my PC, I've got 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 for 16 in total. That is faster than 2 sticks. So 4 sticks is better. So it's good that they've got 2 chips, because they haven't just put it all on 1 chip. So in effect, it will be faster.
Okay, good.
And then,
so like load times and stuff like that will be quicker, and
like loading in the map, loading in Pokemon, loading in like little bits and bobs in Zelda or whatever. It's going to be insane. I think that is capable of probably running 2K. 2K 30 FPS. All I've ever wanted from the Switch is 1080p 60. I'm still happy gaming at 1080p.
Yeah,
I mean, my PlayStation throws it out at 120 FPS. My PCI tends to sit between 90 and 120. If the Switch can get anywhere near that, it's a big bonus. I can see from the power profiles that you've sent me. The handheld is sitting at like 1,100 megahertz. GPU is very underclocked. At least half of what it is docked, which would kind of lead me to believe it's 30 FPS. Maybe 1080p 30 FPS. I pray to God, if there is no way in 2025 you can release a console that will do 720p on a handheld. It's not going to be allowed. Like it shouldn't be. If they release the specs and there isn't an uproar, there should be. And then docked, I mean, that could go up to 2K 30 FPS, but I would expect 1080p 60 FPS. But graphics aside, I mean, it all goes down to the developer, right? We have seen how far the Switch could be pushed with Zelda. Breath of the Wild was insane, and then Tears of the Kingdom was like on a whole nother level. And you put that in comparison to Scarlet and Violet. Like, there is obviously some skill issue, as the young people would call it. Some sort of skill issue.
They were lacking in that department. And then, that, to what you explained, to what I could comprehend, sounds like it's a pretty big upgrade to the Switch. I think, like you kind of touched on, like, not 60 FPS, not, being, everyone wants that. Handheld, it's going to be really hard to get. Me personally speaking, as long as it's stable handheld wise and it's not fluctuating, I'm good. Like, if you can give me, I'd rather take a locked in 30 FPS than one that's going from 60 to 30 and dipping that way. I don't want that. I want to be locked in at something and guaranteed that. And I think that's very hard, specifically on handheld. Now, when it's docked, it better be 60 FPS and not super bad drifting. But also, I feel like on a handheld, unless you're holding it up this close to your face, you're really not going to notice. I've never been a big FPS person, personally, because I really just don't think I can tell. I can tell when a game runs a little bit slower, but I'm talking when you're dropping to like 20 to 10 FPS versus, like, I can't really tell the difference between like 30 and 60 necessarily, unless it's dropping from 60 to 30. Then I can definitely see a visual difference. But as long as it runs smoothly, I really can't tell. I'm not a big stickler for graphics on my handheld devices, anyways, specifically. So looking at this the next thing I sent you, we talked about how it looks like it's going to be docked sitting at 2K 60 FPS, which is perfectly fine for me. I don't really assume that I'm ever going to be playing these massively graphic games on the Switch 2. Like, I'm not expecting like a God of War type of like beautiful cinematic game coming out. Now, if it does, that'd be awesome, but I also don't necessarily think it's going to be that big of a deal. Price looking like close to $399 USD, so about $400. Honestly, that's cool to me. That's something that I think is a very easy entry point for most people. As you said, it's about the same price as the Steam Deck, right?
Yep, it's about the Steam Deck. So they can't really go away from that value, I guess. Yeah. I suppose one thing, if that is US, what is a PlayStation in US?
PlayStation's $499, so $500
more. It's close, isn't it? I mean, like that, you're paying $50 less for. I mean, if I'm not throwing shade, it does handheld and docked.
Well, see, that's the thing, right? Like, I think when it comes to the Switch, you're playing it for that convenience. If I'm buying a Switch, and I'll talk to you about how much I love the Switch in about literally after we finish wrapping this thing up, because I fucking love the Switch to death. The Switch, the purpose behind the Switch, honest to God, like, is the fact that you can take that shit with you wherever you want. You take it on the train, you take it on the bus, take it on the plane, take it to work with you. I mean, shit, I would play my CC matches at work because I could just talk it out, and I would be able to sit there in front of everyone watching me play my CC matches because I couldn't go home and record the match. I would just play it there, right? Like, it's the convenience of taking it with you on the go. And looking at some of these games that you see listed there, talking about how at launch possibly the idea of having Mario Kart 9, Metroid Prime 4, Elden Ring, Tekken 8, a remastered version of Breath of the Wild. The fact that you can take that with you wherever you go, and it's gonna look pretty decent handheld. Sure, you won't get that cinematic experience on the TV, but the fact that you can take Elden Ring with you on the train, and it's gonna play at 30 FPS and probably look just fine. That's freaking amazing, and the fact that it's only $100 less than the PS5.
When you put it like that, it's good value. It's good value.
It's good value. It's really good
value. I do worry about the battery life. I do worry.
I do too. Well, they haven't said anything about the battery life, but if it can get me 6 hours on the high end, 4 on the low, I think I can deal with that.
It's my Steam Deck. You built up something like Red Dead 2. 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
2 hours max.
Fair enough on that one. But I think the values worth it. Kind of talking about it, we mentioned the PS5 a couple times. You sent me a thing about the PS Portal, I think it is. Like a $200 thing.
The PSP that's not a PSP.
Yeah, that you can take with you and play your PS5 games handheld in your own home Wi-Fi. Like, that's cool, but I'm not gonna get that because I don't have an exorbitant amount of income that I can just drop $200 on something that I can only have in my home Wi-Fi. The fact that you can take, again, the Switch 2 stuff with you wherever you go, and you can't do that with any other system, is a selling point. And I think that's the best thing about the Switch 2, and I think that's why Switch 2 is it's also probably going to be the thing where if you don't have a PS5 or the newest Xbox, you're probably just going to get the Switch 2 because it looks like you're going to be able to play a majority of the games that are coming out on there, minus the exclusives. Knowing Microsoft at some point, they're probably going to put Game Pass on the fucking thing.
True.
and you're going to have access to that. So, I mean, it's going to be the thing where, like, it's going to be a good entry point, price point for casual gamers in general. I don't know too many people who don't have a PS5 or a PC or an Xbox that don't probably already have a Switch. But yeah, I think the Switch 2 is going to be in good hands. I'm excited that it's been announced. When it gets announced and the games get announced, we'll see when I decide to pick it up. I will say, looking at potential games coming out for it, that being Mario Kart 9, Metroid Prime 4. Not going to be super like I think I saw Breath of the Wild remastered. Was never really gotten to Breath of the Wild. I just don't vibe with Zelda like that personally. The games are great. I played them both. I haven't beaten them, but they're great games. They just don't not a staying game for me. But probably if they announce like, hey, Legends of Arceus is going to only be on the Switch 2, that might be a thing where I'm like,
well, it'll be
all
Legend
right.
CA, right? I think
Yeah,
I
sorry.
think it's Pokemon's turn actually for what's the one that what do you call it when they release with the console? It's the first release.
Launch
so
exclusive.
I think the launch, well, not launch exclusive, but like the launch game, because I swear the DS was Mario. The Switch was Zelda, because Breath of the Wild was the first game that you could buy on the Switch. I think it's Pokemon's turn, which would be ZA. And that brings a whole load of conversation of there will probably be like the the limited edition decals or whatever wraps they call them. I was speaking to Nick earlier.
Yeah.
Green isn't my favorite color, but I know green will sell.
Yeah.
So like, I guess
I don't see. The thing is, I don't think the thing is, Game Freak is not a Nintendo is not a sole Nintendo thing. I think Nintendo will stick to Mario, Metroid, Donkey Kong, Zelda, and I think they're going to let Pokemon do its own thing. I also don't think Pokemon is going to risk the idea of a first party game that they worked really hard on just coming to the Switch 2 as a quote unquote launch title. I think it will be available on both, but you're also isolating an audience that might not be able to get a Switch at launch with Legends is if it comes out this year. Now, if it's coming out like tail end, like let's say December around the holiday season, I could see that. But I personally can't see ZA being a launch title. I think Nintendo's also weird. I think Nintendo and Game Freak have this weird thing as well. I think Nintendo
it's not a symbiotic relationship.
It's not. They just party the thing. Honestly, Game Freak is what is like its own kind of thing. Like it's kind of like it's a third party in the sense of like it could go to another. It could go like say drop other games on like a different console if it wanted to, but it's not like a Nintendo. It's not a Nintendo IP. Pokemon is a Game Freak IP. And so I think that's where we're going to be a little bit iffy. But if it does, that'd be pretty wild. I just don't see it happening.
Pokemon have like a very big conundrum on their hands because Gen 10 will obviously beat Switch 2.
Yeah, Gen 10, but I don't think we get Gen 10 for another 2 years.
But given how much Pokemon has blown up, and for competitive scene, I think it's the only like Nintendo game that has a proper competitive scene. Like Splatoon,
I think Splatoon. I think Splatoon is the only one you could probably Smash.
Oh, Smash
Brothers. Yeah, but besides those, yeah.
Because if they don't go backwards compat, everyone has to buy a Switch 2. Everyone sat in that hall, and when I went to Liverpool, there was 900 people.
Yeah, I will say when Pokemon announces, I think the way Pokemon's going to line things up is I think he's going to go ZA. I think we are going to get Black and White remakes at some point, which I think they might make a Switch 2 exclusive. And then a year later, and within the same year, they'll announce Gen 10.
Yep.
They might give it like a Let's Go Pikachu kind of vibe with Black and White. You're not saying they're going to make it the same type of game where you throw the balls, but I think they will make that the first Switch 2 exclusive Pokemon game to test to see where the market is before Gen 10 comes out. But that's just me being speculative. But we've talked a lot about the Switch 2. Let's kind of just start wrapping it up and let's talk a little bit about the Switch. Because I mean, honestly, the Switch was an amazing system. I love the Switch it has. I personally, I know mine's literally sitting in its dock in my living room. I'm not going. I'm going to say this with the utmost confidence, and you can say I'm have a terrible opinion or not, audience and Jake, myself. But me personally, I think the Switch is the best video game console in history. I really think it is. I think it's innovative. I think it's got some of the most highly rated games you can play on it. I think the price point of entry is great there. And it finally did something when it came to gaming, and it showed a company that, hey, you don't need to do a handheld and a home console. You can put this thing together and people will buy it. I mean, think of the games that came out on this thing, right? We have Mario Kart, we have Smash Ultimate, we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. We have 4 Pokemon games. Even though Scarlet and Violet look like shit, we have all these other plethora games that not like 2 Fire Emblems that look amazing on the games.
I think all the EA games are on it, right? FIFA,
a lot
whatever
of the
it is now.
FIFA's on there. All the 2Ks are on there as well. It's got so many games on it. Like at one point when didn't have a PS5 or anything else, I had my PC and I had my Switch, and I had a lot of games on my Switch, like just random games that I just wanted to play because I just like I can get it on the Switch, I can play in my bed, super comfy. I'm cool with that. I think the legacy of the Switch and what will end up being the Switch 2 is that it really is one of the best prices in gaming that you can get, where you're going to get quality games. And love Nintendo or hate Nintendo, they put out fucking really good games, and it's really hard unless you do not like Nintendo IP to not have a Switch. Like I think everyone I've talked to has a Switch. Like most people, I would say about 75% of the people I personally intermingle with, gamers, other people, casual people, they have either a Switch, an OLED, a Switch Lite. They have something that's a Switch product. And I think that just attests to the legacy of the Switch and my take of, I think it's the best console ever made.
By far. It's just, I think the only thing that let it down, but from a consumer point, it's quite okay, is the reiterations didn't come as quick as they should have done. The Switch at this point is a very, very outdated console in terms of hardware.
Yes.
Does it still stand up? Yeah, it does. Do we just accept that? Yeah, because it's a cool console and everyone agrees with that. The OLED as a final version of the Switch 1 is amazing.
I love my OLED. I love
that
it.
OLED. If that was if they produced that as the base model, like, I don't think they'd have needed to announce a Switch 2 as soon as they have. Yeah. Like, I think people would have still been happy with their OLED.
I'm so happy with it.
I am overjoyed that the Switch 2 is coming out. It will be next on my big purchase list. I can guarantee it. And we'll see what happens, I guess. Like, maybe I'll pick up some more Nintendo IP games, because, like, I don't really play Mario apart from the, like, what do you call them? The party games.
Yeah.
Like this Jamboree.
Mario Party,
Mario Party, Mario Kart. I don't really play like the actual Mario games, so maybe I'll give those a try. Not like I couldn't do it already on my Switch. It's just it's an excuse when you've got a new console and there isn't many games out. It's an excuse to go back. Whether if they do something like what I think would be cool, because I think what we slightly glossed over on those things that you sent me, Luke, Nintendo Switch Online is doubling in price.
Yeah,
maybe even tripling. From if that leak is correct, it's $70 US a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
But they're going to have to add on to that pass for sure.
Yeah. So whether they do something like with PlayStation 5 released and they gave all of like the main classics, that would probably cost Nintendo a lot of money, but it would give people a chance to port over the old games so they could still play them. That was the whole point of the classics pass, is like you could play Tomb Raider on your PS5 without having to buy it again.
Exactly.
I think they'll have to bump out the online pass. I know they keep throwing like free games at us. Like it's cool. but they're really old games and they're very niche games. I know everyone's waiting for like the Pokemon Pass, where like Emerald and Black and White come out in the Virtual Console. Like,
I mean, I think it's still pretty cool. Guys. I don't think we'll ever get the it would be if they want to sell this shit, that fucking $70, they will do that because I'll pay it, take my fucking money. I will play every single game that any Pokemon game where you say, hey, Red generations 1 through 4 are on this thing. I got you. I got you. Easy.
What I do is
take my money.
Get all your friends on a family pass. I think you can get up to 8 to 10 people on it, and then divide it by 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheap. It's cheaper then. Yeah. It's like $10 a month, $10 a year instead of like $70.
Yeah, I will say, I think we would be remiss to not mention, we both love Pokemon very, very much. What do you think of the Switch's generation of not mainline Pokemon games, but let's go Eevee, BDSP, Arceus, Scarlet Violet, Sword and Shield. Where do you rank that legacy of the Switch games versus the other Pokemon IP generations?
I think Scarlet and Violet tainted it. That's
I do too.
That's if they had have never released Scarlet and Violet, you list those games and they're like, yeah, that's a good legacy. Sword and Shield, we all slammed it as we played it, but now looking back, it's like that's a good game.
Yeah,
that's a really good game. BDSP is people didn't get what they wanted, but they got pretty much a direct remake of
BDSP
of the original,
like the DP.
If you want to touch the gemstone as they called it, like Gen 4s, like the holy grail of Pokemon, apparently.
Yeah,
you're not going to change anything. Let's go. Amazing art style.
Yeah,
I wish they'd put it in a real game where I don't have to throw the ball at the screen. God, just a real game. It'd be amazing. The art style is fantastic. The way you catch Pokemon is fantastic. Well, not but like, when you're in the route and everything pops up. Amazing. Cool. Legends Arceus, 10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10. Yeah. I know people didn't like it. Like, the battling style was a bit weird, but being able to just run around and catch Pokemon, fantastic. And then Scarlet and Violet just... It had to do too much. It had to, the competitive scene is going through the roof, so they have to competitively balance everything.
Well, I think
the scale was a bit off.
Yeah, I think if they just... My biggest thing with Scarlet and Violet and just enjoy... If the game just ran well, it would be fine. I think my biggest takeaway is not even... I think the story in Scarlet and Violet is done really well. I do like the Pokemon. I do love not Galar.
Paldea.
What is the Paldea? See, that's how forgettable I am with it. I do like Paldea. If it ran the way it was supposed to, and the lag drops, and it wasn't just a trudge, and it didn't take 5 seconds to get into battle when you see a Pokemon.
Who was I speaking to about in Discord? Where I was in a general chat somewhere. I was like, you haven't played it properly until you're on an emulator and you've activated the 60 FPS mod.
Yeah, we've played it on there.
Real.
Yeah, it plays great on my PC.
Which it should.
Which it should, right? But like, it should also play great on the system it's designed to. And docking it doesn't help, which is the thing that sucks the most. Like, all right, I guess I'll dock this game. Like, okay, it's too pretty. It needs to be docked. No, I think it plays worse when it's fucking docked.
It probably does.
And that's the sad thing about it. Like, I think, like you said, if it just worked properly, we'd be talking probably about one of the greatest generations of Pokemon games in general on a Nintendo console. But now looking back on it, I still think the DS, 3DS era is taking the cake still. Like, we'll see what the Switch 2 does with our lovely child, which is known as Pokemon. Yeah, we'll see what they do, but definitely not my biggest console of Pokemon. I will say Legends Arceus is probably like one of my favorite Pokemon games ever. Like it's a highlight.
And I'm very glad that another Legends series game will be first to flagship on the new, because I feel like it could really benefit from the performance of like upgrades.
God, please let this game run well, because if not, fuck Game Freak.
Well, Legends did, right? Legends did.
I mean, Legends did, but like at the end of the day, y'all been working on this son of a bitch for 3-4 years at this point. Like, for the love of God, if this game does not run like it's supposed to, like, I'm flying over to Japan. I'm like, who do you need help? What? Teach me, because I can't be having y'all do this to me, man. Like, please.
But no, I'm very excited, and as much as we complain, the money's coming out of my wallet. It just is.
It's coming. Like I said, the second it gets a date, the second I see what I like, I won't say I will get it day one, but I definitely will say probably by the end of the year, are encroaching on 2026 when the right game comes out for it. If Legends ZA is on the Switch, I probably won't buy a Switch 2 right away. But if it is on the Switch 2, then I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to eat it on that one. But that's the only game that would sell me on the Switch 2 on an immediate day one purpose, is you were to say the newest Pokemon game is a Switch 2 exclusive and it's not going to be able to play on the Switch. I'd be like, well, I kind of have to because it's Pokemon.
Okay, you pulled my arm. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry everything that I said. No. We're all friends.
Take my $400, please.
Radio.
But I think that wraps us up for the time being, guys. I do want to make one little quick announcement here. Definitely one thing that's going to be super cool. You know, we talked about our 2025 goals for the year last podcast. I am very happy to announce that in middle of February that I will be bringing back the Twitch streams under the Dual Hemisphere name. So when we do announce some gameplays and stuff like that, we'll be able to see that on there. It's going to be super exciting for me personally. We got to figure out my graphics card right now. That's always going to be.
We will get it fixed. We're going
to figure something out, but that will be coming very soon. And then definitely just be on the lookout for just, you know, more news, guys. You guys have been killing on the audio side of things, guys. I'm very, very appreciative of y'all listening to the podcast. Video side, you guys have always been killing it as well. We love each and every one of you. So, guys, thank you guys so much for supporting. And yeah, this is only the beginning for 2025 for the Dual Hemisphere Hangout, guys. It's going to be a lot of fun ideas going to be happening here. Maybe some more fun games that we're going to be playing on the podcast. Maybe some more guests, who knows? But it's going to be a lot of fun. And as always, guys, we obviously thank you guys for joining us each and every week. And that has been us for the week. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.